Back here on the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. It's Patriots and Titans on Sunday, and a bit of a shakeup on the sideline in Nashville. We will not see Mike Vrabel versus the guy who replaced him in Tennessee. Brian Callahan out after a 4-19 record through just over a season at the helm. So here to break it down with us, Nick Suss of the Tennessean, covering the Titans. He covered both of these coaches. And Nick, let me just ask you this. It was kind of breaking news around the league this week. I think a lot of people expected Mike McDaniel to be the first coach to go, but this didn't feel like it was much of a surprise for Tennessee.
No, I mean, well, one, we can say the Titans have now fired a chief executive decision maker 4 years in a row. It was John Robinson in 22, it was Vrabel in 23, it was Carthon in 24, and now Callahan in 25. So it's hardly a surprise when this front office makes a decision to move on from somebody pretty quickly. And two, the Titans have not played well this season. I think that you can easily say if the Titans are not the worst team in the NFL, they are bottom three. The Jets are up there. The Dolphins are up there. There are some other bad teams in the NFL, but if you've actually watched the product the Titans have put on the field, they are 1-5 because the Cardinals gifted them a game in the fourth quarter. And I will say the Titans played well while the Cardinals were gifting them that game in the fourth quarter, but that was a pure gift. That was 3 turnovers that were totally unforced and weird quarterback playing through a foot injury. And it was very, very strange. So all of that is to say the 4-19 record is one thing, but the fact that they went 3-14 last year and got worse this year with Cam Ward as your number one quarterback. I've been illustrating this stat a lot. Last year, when the Titans went 3-14 and earned the number one pick behind a really, really bad offense, they played one game where they had 4.0 or fewer yards per play. This year, through 6 games, they've done it 4 times. It is remarkable how bad this offense has been. And when Callahan was hired to be the offensive guy, it is rational that the front office can say growth has not happened yet.
And the way you talk about that one win, it sounds very familiar to the way the Patriots started 1-0 in 2024. And certainly you got an up close and personal look at how bad that Patriots team was as well down in Nashville last year. And now you sit here a year later and they're 4-2, and we'll certainly get to that part of it in a second. But back to this move and Callahan, and you say it keeps getting worse and worse. You actually wrote for the Tennessean this week about some of the big moments, some of the big instances that were contributing towards this firing of Brian Callahan. What was the moment for you where you said they just can't come back from this?
I think it was probably week 3 this year against the Colts. And like, this is not a knock on the Colts. I did not expect the Colts to be as good as they have been this year. They are remarkably strong when they stay on schedule, and they always seem to be on schedule. A lot of credit for that. But there was a moment right before halftime where the Titans were trying to decide between kicking a long field goal or going for a 4th and short. And they're setting up for a 57-yarder, and they take a timeout, and then the other team takes a timeout. And then coming out of the back-to-back timeouts, the Titans had to take a delay of game because they still hadn't decided what they wanted to do. And then they ended up trying a 62-yard field goal after the delay of game, and it got tipped at the line of scrimmage and went awry. And that was kind of when I started being on high alert of, I think a change might come in season. The vibes were just off. And that is not to say that's the moment the front office made the decision. There have been some other moments this season that fans have been up in arms about. There were decisions in week 1 about passing 3 times right before halftime from backed up inside your own 5-yard line and allowing the clock to stop and then having to punt, and the Broncos ended up scoring when the Titans could have just gone into halftime with a lead. In that same game, there was a moment where it seemed that Brian Callahan did not know the rules on catches and challenges. I can tell you from backroom discussions, off-the-record discussions, that's not necessarily true. NFL coaches do know rules, and it's more complicated than we
that's
think.
Promising. That's promising. Yeah.
But that moment does reflect poorly on the situation. And then all of that culminates in week 4. The Titans are playing in Houston, and anyone who knows their NFL history knows that Titans versus Texans has a very specific kind of rivalry, given the Titans origins, and the Titans go down there and get shut out. I think it was the first time the Titans had been shut out in 15 years and the first time the Texans had shut anybody out in 15 years. And so after those couple of games, it started to feel like, hey, writing's on the wall. And then frankly, I thought it would happen after this week. Maybe it's petty.
Yeah.
I thought they would let him face Vrabel and then get angry, but firing him before the Vrabel game does, change the circumstances.
Yeah, that leads me right into the next question, actually. And I wonder how intentional this timing was. Now Amy Adams Strunk doesn't have to see the guy she shoot away, that none of the fans really wanted to have shoot away, facing his replacement, who has really had a whale of a time. So you thought it was going to happen after this week, but when it comes at the beginning of this week with Mike Vrabel coming into town, do you think that's an intentional play?
I can tell you the company line is no. Okay. And I don't want to say anybody is misleading anybody. So I will leave it at that. The company line is this was not related to Vrabel. It is related to a lack of growth. It is related to the team not getting better when the whole point of this season was, hey, maybe we're not going to win a lot of games, but we need to get better. Yeah. And the team hasn't been getting better. Now, the timing is suspicious. And people are going to draw their own conclusions. And I am not telling you not to draw your conclusions. But out of respect for the people I cover and the people I speak to, I will leave it at that.
And hey, it is easy for that to be the company line too. We keep talking about a 4-19 record and how they're getting worse. It is also easy for them to point to that too and say, well, it's not getting better. So the timing is what the timing is. But that said, Vrabel comes back for the first time. And I'm wondering here, he's been beloved in New England because he was a great player here and things are going well so far. And I think everyone likes having a Mike Vrabel as their coach, right?
Sure.
Guy that the players like after the game on Sunday and not really much of the rest of the week, but the attention to detail, the intensity, the style that he likes to play. How is he remembered in Tennessee? I know the last 2 years weren't that great, but what is that relationship between Vrabel and the fans?
It's such a strange revisionist history moment right now because of how bad the Titans have been since he left. Mike Vrabel went 6-18 in his last 24 games as Titans head coach. When Mike Vrabel had prime Derrick Henry and burgeoning prime A.J. Brown and a really serviceable quarterback in Ryan Tannehill and a super strong defensive front and all of these superstars, they were stellar. And then that 21 season where they went 12-5 and had the number one seed in the AFC was such a strange year. I don't know if you recall, the Titans played 91 players that year. That is an NFL record for most players fielded in an NFL season. And they went 12-5 and were the number one seed in an AFC that had Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
That is one of the more remarkable coaching performances of you're picking people up off the street. Derrick Henry gets hurt and you go sign like a 38-year-old Adrian Peterson or something. And then Deontay Foreman and you're making it work. And so that memory is so strong for people. But then that thing stopped working. The whole picking people up off the street and just succeeding. I tell people all the time. So my first week on the Titans beat, I believe was week 7 of the 22 season, which was Malik Willis's first start right when Ryan Tannehill got hurt. The Titans, I think, were 5-2 at that point, and they ended that season 7-10, famously lost 7 in a row after starting 7-3 to end that season outside of the playoffs. That was the year they fired John Robinson mid-season. And this is where the avalanche starts. It's impossible to extract Vrabel's downfall from John Robinson's downfall. You had a stretch where 3 straight first-round picks were 2020, Isaiah Wilson, arguably the worst first-round pick in the history of the National Football League. He played 4 career snaps. All of them were on extra points. He was 1 game traded immediately, never played. Next year was Caleb Farley, who already had pre-existing back, and my cat just knocked a glass of water over. Cool. Had pre-existing back and knee injuries, was hurt his entire career, didn't work out. 2022, Treylon Burks, you trade A.J. Brown for the ability to go pick Treylon Burks. he caught 1 touchdown in 3 years and has since been cut. The second round picks, none of them are on the team. The third round picks, I think one of them is still on the team from those 3 drafts. You have those 3 drafts that right now are supposed to be in year 4, 5, and 6, your core players on your team. You've got 2 players left from any of those drafts, a nickel corner and a rotational tight end. The roster degraded. The roster got older. They put a lot of emphasis into winning with Derrick Henry, winning with Ryan Tannehill, winning now. And those moves they made, bringing in the likes of Bud Dupree and Vic Beasley and Jadeveon Clowney and like win now moves, didn't strengthen the roster long term. And the roster degraded. And for as good of a coach as Vrabel was, winning his way stopped working. So yes, there is a large faction of the Titans fan base that wanted Vrabel to stay. But I think the revisionist history is, he should have stayed because Brian Callahan was worse. I do think that there was a lot of push for Vrabel to be moved on from some of the sections of the fan base after that 23 season. They'd gone 6-11. They weren't very good. And you had Derrick Henry heading to free agency, Ryan Tannehill heading to free agency. He was frictive with the new GM, and some people took the GM side, some people took Vrabel's side. There was that strange moment where Vrabel went back to New England for his Ring of Honor ceremony and was very complimentary of the Crafts, and that did not
we
sit
have
well.
A game to win, I believe was the quote. Yeah.
That did not sit well with certain Titans fans who thought that Vrabel had a foot out the door and was jockeying for Belichick's job. It's way more complicated than, the Titans fans didn't want to see Vrabel go. There are many who didn't. But we also have to explain the context of these last 5 years of Titans football is strange and wild and not quite as black and white as, people liked Vrabel. They did. They really did. And there's an argument that he oversaw the most successful era of Titans football since moving to Nashville. But there is also plain results that those last 2 years were very, very strange.
So they could have been 3-14 even with Vrabel last year.
I think that last year's team probably has a little bit higher of a ceiling with Vrabel as a coach, but I don't think that's a playoff team last year with Vrabel as a coach. I don't think that Will Levis was a guy who was going to take you to the playoffs. I don't think that their defense had near enough talent to produce. And 3-14 might have been a stretch, but that could have been a 5 or 6 win team with Vrabel.
And talking about that faction of the fan base that is putting that revisionist history out, that's thinking that way, how much more frustrating does that make it to see a Patriots team come in, albeit with an easy schedule so far, but sitting at 4-2, sitting at the top of the AFC East after you've just fired your coach? Do you think that brings even more animosity from a fan base this weekend?
Look, I know I'm long-winded. I'm going to answer this question very, very simply with 2 rhetorical questions. Okay. What did you say Brian Callahan's record was with the Titans?
And you don't want that answered. Is that right?
No, go for it. Go
4-19.
And what is Mike Vrabel's record with the Patriots?
4-2.
That's how they feel.
How can they not?
It's very simple.
Yeah. And looking at that, you covered Vrabel towards the end there, and as things weren't going well, but knowing what you know about him, do you think this is a game that he's got scheduled or circled on the calendar, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? This is not a Vrabel thing. This is a human thing. Who in their right mind wouldn't want to stick it to the old boss that fired them? Especially when the old team, the old boss, the old employer is at its low point. Like, I don't think this is the primary thing on Mike Vrabel's mind, but I do think it is significant. I do think that it does matter, because who wouldn't it matter to? Like, the Titans gave him his shot. The Titans made him an NFL head coach for the first time. He succeeded. He got them to an AFC championship game. He got them to the playoffs 3 times. He won coach of the year. And they fired him. Who wouldn't have feelings about that?
And I know, this whole week has been really about Brian Callahan, but looking at this Patriots team coming in, are you starting to see some of the kind of positive attributes that he gave to those Titans teams for a team that's sitting at 4-2 that was at 4-13 a year ago?
Yes and no. If you look at the peripheral stats that I tend to think matter in the NFL, the Patriots aren't stunningly stellar at them right now. They are not dominating in the red zone. They are league average with pass rush stuff. They're a little bit above average on third downs. The stuff that make and break games, they're not top of the world. Where they are top of the world is Drake May seems really good. And like, I'm not going to oversell it. I'm not going to undersell it. He seems really good. I don't think Mike Vrabel ever had a quarterback like Drake May in Nashville. And I'm a guy who thinks Ryan Tannehill was probably underrated over that period. But I looked this up this morning. I don't know if you guys have seen this stat. The only quarterbacks who have scrambled more often this season than Drake May are Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. The way he is extending plays, the way he is finding players where they're open, when they're open, is remarkable. And that helps. That really helps. That's going to take a team that maybe could be 2-4 right now, maybe could be 3-3 right now, and win them a couple of extra games. I am seeing some of the things that were questionable about Vrabel be questionable in New England. The unwillingness to use rookies early in the year, I think, is rearing its head. You guys have talked about that a lot.
Yep. Travion Henderson,
The soft tissue injuries that crop up in practice seem to be cropping up. Christian Gonzalez has one that lingered for quite a while. There are certain things that were, this might be unique to Vrabel, that were negative, but there are also certain things that might be unique to Vrabel. I was sitting in the press box after the Titans game in Arizona, and that was right around when Patriots-Bills was starting. And it's 0-0, 15 minutes left in the first quarter. Game just started. And I turned to a Titans beat writer who's been around the team a long time, and I just go, "Oh, Vrabel game." And he looks at me and goes, "Vrabel game." And what that means in Nashville, which you guys will come to learn, if the Patriots are ever playing a primetime game where they are the underdog, they're going to win. That's a Vrabel game.
Okay.
Like Vrabel,
I like that, but okay.
If it's a primetime game, if everybody's watching and nobody thinks the Patriots are going to win, they're going to win. Because that's what Mike Vrabel does. Time and time again. Whether it was the Titans upsetting the Rams on Sunday Night Football after, like, 3 days after Derrick Henry got hurt, Vrabel game. Going into Miami when they were on pace to be the number 1 seed and the Titans were like a 3-win team winning on Monday Night Football, Vrabel game. Upsetting the Chiefs like 21-3 just because they figured out how to stop Patrick Mahomes, Vrabel game. That happens. So I had no doubt in my mind. I saw like 4 plays of that game. I was like, oh, Vrabel game. Patriots are going to win. Because that's kind of what his specialty is. You take a point where nobody thinks you have a shot. You go into New England in the playoffs in 2019, 2020, take Tom Brady out. Vrabel game. Next week, number 1 seed Ravens that were unstoppable, take out Lamar Jackson. Vrabel game. That's what happens. That's what he does. So that is the most positive attribute I can say, is that has not gone anywhere.
Well, what about when he's the favorite, though?
It's
toss-up.
It's rarer. The Titans were rarely the favorites. People didn't really talk about the Titans very much. But the one time the Titans were the number 1 seed, they did lose at home in the divisional round. So it's different. But he can play that nobody believes in us card and rally the troops really well.
He saw that firsthand. He and Rodney Harrison and Willie McGinnis, just us against the world, 21 straight wins, and nobody believes in us. Sure. So certainly Mike Vrabel can play that card. Nick Suss of the Tennessean, you've been doing some preview of the game this week, along with the kind of Brian Callahan fallout. For those who want to get the Titans side of things, maybe learn some more about Cam Ward before we get to this game, how can they find your work?
Yeah, Tennessean.com. That's TENNESSEAN, and then a dot and then a com. I don't tweet very much. I don't like it. It makes me feel bad and sick. I am on Twitter at Nick Suss if you want to see like 3 or 4 tweets a week. I promise I'm not going to overload you. And other than that, if you're in Nashville this weekend and see me on the street, I'm the guy who looks like this. This might be a radio show. I don't know if anybody sees me.
No, we'll see.
Okay. But if anybody sees me in Nashville, come say hey.
He's got a bit of a Marcelo Meyer look for some Red Sox fans who are heading down there as well. And certainly there'll be some Patriots fans in Nashville. This is a great getaway for all of them. I wish I could. But Nick Suss of the Tennessean breaking it down. Mike Vrabel returns to Nashville this weekend. We will have some more reaction and some preview of this game coming up next on The Cam Show.